This is iRacing.
Out of the fish fire and straight down under, IMSA Vintage gets cast away from the Commonwealth and into New South Wales for its frequent stop at another track where multiclass may not make much sense, but it sure does lead to a lot of fun for us fans. Who will master Mount Panorama, and who will wish the series had stayed north of the equator? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bathurst has been the favored bullring of IMSA Vintage for a few years now, and to find out why, let's take you down to our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today.
An amazing circuit to drive in any vehicle, but Craig, how are the IMSA Vintage vehicles going to take it today?
Well, let's get out the way, Adam. This track is not designed for multi-class. It is basically a street circuit. It's too narrow. In fact, something as quick and with much downforce as the GTP would never race here. But with the magic of sim racing, we can do this. So talking about those Nissan, they will be practically full throttle over the hill. And from watching onboards all week, it is very scary. Nissans will have issues though at Dipper and Forest Elbow, and for the right reasons. Those elevation changes will upset that ground effect downforce, and it can cause issues. The GTOs, it's all about momentum over that hill. Controlling the throttle and brake through the top of the mountain, it's the fastest point of the track, apart from the straights. The Audi loves to go through those snow corners, so it will eat up Dipper, and it will eat up Forest Elbow. No problems there. Overtaking both classes generally will be at quarry and into the chase, but don't be surprised to see any interesting looks on the mountain. And with that, sadly, we come to multi-class. Adam, the simple way to describe how it goes here is that 2 old age quotes that we used to say. 1, the Audis need to track out of a corner, and 2, Audis, please hold your racing line. Understand these 2 things, you should be able to tackle the hill.
That being said, it's still a challenge for all of the drivers. One driver trying to do the unheard of in this series is Andres Valenteus. He currently leads the GTP Championship with 2 wins under his belt. He's got 50 points up there. That means he has not raced in the GTP's last round. Round 2 is when he was in the GTO, and that's because he's trying to win the championship in both classes in the same season. It's a lot easier said than done, but in the GTPs, he's got 2 points over Christoph Lesniak and then Brendan Lim down there in 3rd position in his consistency. Cal Young is in 4th, tied with Nick McConos, and then Jacob Reed's down there in 6th position with Shady Ahmad in a distant 7th. And he's got a couple of drivers in competition with him, Matthew Cockram, and then Farron Grau and Raul Roches Guardio tied for 9th position. But how is Valenteus doing in the points in the GTOs, Craig?
Well, I like that you didn't include P10 there in the championship because that's where Valenteus is in the GTOs. But let's look at the rest of the GTO before we talk about that, because Johan van Hicks has had 3 podiums all season and he is sitting comfortably on top. But look behind him, Ville Roller, Andreas Schuster. You can't really split which one should go where. Roller gets the tiebreaker with more podium finishes over Schuster. And Mickey Friesen not here this week. He is a scratch. That's going to be a 0-point week for him. So he will go down the order, but don't count him out yet. Josh Brain also looking to be good. But the man I really love to talk about here, William Richardson. 2nd week last week. Drives really well. Couple unfortunate events out on the track. But when it comes to pace, he's really quick. Unfortunately, he's not here today either.
Yeah, but there are a lot of drivers who are here today. We are in 2 splits this race. It's going to be round 4 for the IMSA Vintage Series. 60 minutes for these drivers, so we should see pit stops out there today. Open setups for these drivers with no spare vehicle, and a drive-through at 17 incidents and disqualification at 25, but it's really hard to get there without catching a foul of some of the barriers around this circuit. Qualifying underway right now. It's a long way around Mount Panorama, but Jacob Reed has set the first bar to be hit. That is a 145.763. Weather out there right now, it's 21 Celsius out in the air, 30 Celsius on the track. That's 86 Fahrenheit on track for these drivers. 42 degrees is the humidity. And the wind is just a calm northeasterly at 4 miles per hour. Ville Rolla just jumping up to the GTO top with a 201.5.
Yeah, 201. Kind of what you expect to see on modern day GT3 cars around here. So really just goes to show the pace and the power that these cars have. You see them going over the hill. Jacob Reed's currently in the pole position. Really interesting to see what happens here, because this is the fastest they'll go around most of the day. There is Carlos Peralta just clipped too much of the outside curb at McPhillamy, which is something we are too useful to seeing around here in modern day cars. I was saying about how this is the fastest they'll go all day, Adam. The week they had a split in one of the hot splits. They didn't have a split last night. It was a full field last night. So with today splitting, this is going to actually be a different race that any of these drivers had experienced throughout the week, because it's going to be a little bit quieter out there on the track.
If you want to join these drivers out on track, either in this broadcast split or in one of their hot splits, visit camelgt.com to take a look at their time schedules. Some of their hot splits are splitting these days. This series has had a massive resurgence over the last couple of years, up from where we were only getting 14 to 15 drivers on a Saturday, up to now where we're splitting fairly consistently over the course of the week. Valenteus is going to come in and set the first solid lap time. That puts him well into pole position in the GTOs by half a second over Ville Roller.
Yeah, and he's just got enough time to get one more out. This is the man who won't have a chance to do another lap. Well, he's already done on his second lap. It's Topi Courtenay. We haven't seen him for a while in the number 3. May have been an off track there. We'll keep our eyes out. Needs to find a lot of time, though. He's 7/10 behind. Not sure he'll find it all, but trying to be on the same row as Valenteus is probably going to be crucial today. He'll come across the line. Comes across with a 2:01.7. In fact, it is a 7:45. Not fast enough for him to continue on. He only just improved his time. Gavin Martinez, the Pac-Man livery, he's going to look for himself to come across the line. Just that speed difference, though, Adam. That's 16 seconds almost for some of these drivers. That's a big delta on a track like this.
Absolutely. It's 16 seconds between 15-ish seconds between Nick Makanos and Andres Valenteus. It's a 145 to a 201, 15.5. Christoph Lesniak trying to set a qualifying time, having a little bit of connection issues. Here's Carlos Peralta. He's just out setting some circuits after his initial spin, so he won't be able to set further qualifying times, but good to practice around here. This track requires a lot of it. Johan van Hicks, he is up there in the lead of the championship and trying to set some consistent times. You're currently in 5th position in the GTOs at the moment. Is this second lap going to be better?
Let's see what he does as he comes around Murray's corner one last time. He's a really good run, and it is hard to get on the throttle really early there. And as you start to go in, it's a 2:02.081. It's not faster for Van Hicks. So he's just going to do a little bit of drifting. Carlos Fonseca, he'll come across to set his final time. Really interesting, though, when you look at it. We see this quite a lot. all the GTOs, bar 2 drivers, and that was one of them, have all set a lap time. For the GTPs, there's more of them who haven't set a lap time. So it's really weird to see Aitor Sintes Galindo last in the timing tower because there are cars behind him who've not set a qualifying time.
Yeah, Aitor Sintes Galindo currently in 13th position right now in the GTPs, and that's actually going to wrap up our qualifying. And that'll take us to the grid. Nick Makanos, while we weren't looking, decided to jump himself up into pole position. With Jacob Reed alongside him, Dustin Heroder is going to take that 3rd position behind Nick Makanos, and Brendan Lim's going to line up behind Jacob Reed. Henrik Schweibig is going to start off row 3 with Christoph Lesniak next to him. Ryan Ware joins us on row 4 with Fabian Jungbluth in 8th position. 9th and 10th go to Laust Olsen and Karnar McDermott. And then we've got Gabri Martinez, Alan Berteau, and Aitor Sintes Galindo, the last of the GTPs to set qualifying times. And then Malte Schneider, Carlos Peralta, and Matthew Cockram did not set qualifying times, rounding out your 16 GTPs.
Well, in the GTOs, it is a strength of field of 3,966 to these tin tops. And it's Valenteus, who is pole position by quite a way with Billy Roller beside him once again. And then Topi Kotanemi, number 3 in 3rd with Noah Lundberg in 4th. And then championship leader Johan Van Hicks will be 5th. Annie Cameron will be 6th place with Doug Cloud in 7th. Tejas Hadval in 8th. Roman Bello will be 9th with Timothy Reed in 10th to round out the first page of 2. And then we get to Ian Haycox, who is in 11th. Martin Krajcik will be 12th. Ian Bertolucci will be 13th with Josh Brain in 14th. Mark Gamak will be 15th, and Damian Rodriguez, the last of the time, qualifies in 16th. Alex Mass and Carlos Fonseca, as we saw, did not set a qualifying time for your 18 GTOs, 16 Nissan GTPs.
Absolutely 34 drivers out in this split today. The top split of 2 for this time slot. 67 drivers rather joining this race on this Saturday, April 12th out here, 2025. And there is the 2 reflectivity Nissan of Nick Makanos, who's going to be leading them to the line very shortly. Nick in that relatively new paint scheme, a nice, a nice smooth black leading to a very bright silver on the back with that Nissan shining on the wing.
It's great to see the drivers come out with their own little designs, their own little setups. Remember, if you want to give this a go, community make a lot of the setup that these drivers are driving. Even Valenteus, he'll finish a race in a car. Once he knows he's finished it, he'll just throw the setup out there, just the nature of it. So it's really interesting to see what they can do. This is going to be crucial. This corner will be vital for the race. It's the chase. You see it a lot in the highlights in the supercars. It's going to be oh so important today. Some drivers, if they get damage up the hill, they're going to be slowed down. It's going to be all too important to keep your nose and your wing clear today.
Absolutely. One other thing to mention about the setups, some of those setups win races, the community setups that are given, so definitely something you can do. Nick Makanos now has control of the field as the Porsche pace car has pulled off. And coming around the final corner, he's going to wait quite a while. He's not going to launch it. He's going to try and catch Jacob Reed off, and he completely does. Jacob Reed, a little bit of a lurch forward, and Nick Makanos waited for him to fall back and punched it and absolutely beats Jacob Reed into turn 1. Down they go, and it looks like the Nissan's fairly slow through the corner, but everyone free and clear.
We got a massive wreck in the GTOs. It is absolute chaos. It looks like it may have been caused. It was Cameron getting a bit too aggressive early on. It has absolutely destroyed the GTO field.
Billy Rolla is out. Mark Gamek is one of the drivers who's recovered and is going forward. But most of the drivers in the bottom of the top 5, of the top 10 rather, have absolutely fallen out. You can see Laust Olsen battling with Connor McDermott as they go up the hill. Laust is going to have the better of that right-hander. But the GTO field, the larger field of this race, absolutely destroyed by that early incident. Only the top 4 made it through.
I believe what it was a misshift from Billy Roller. I think Roller had a misshift to start the race. No one could react right away. And of course, you're in such a tight space there on the exit of Murray's Corner. One mistake like that, you're all bunched up. You just don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure we'll get a replay when this first lap starts to die down. But now the gap, the top 3 are all together in the GTOs. If we watch the GTPs come down, you can see on that timing tower the differences. From 5th down, they're 7 to 18 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, so Noel Lundberg is the first driver with damage. He's in 5th position in the GTOs as we watch a battle between Christoph Lesniak and Brendan Lim. Brendan in the purple machine, Lesniak in that sky blue machine. But Noel Lundberg with major front end damage. Then we have Mark Gamick, Damian Rodriguez, who are clean, and then it's Doug Cloud with major front end damage, and everyone else behind him. Doug Cloud, Matthias Hovdahl, Carlos Fonseca's car looks relatively clean, as well as Josh Brain. So there is a decent amount of drivers who absolutely fall afoul of that wreck. I can see Timothy Reed with damage as well. We're going to watch the replay of what happened here.
Yeah, just watch this. They're coming down to the start line right away. Now, the car on the left there, that is Villerola. As they come around, just here, you start to see he just goes. There is not enough time there for Lumbo to hit the brakes. And he's got nowhere to go there. He has to hit those brakes at some point. No one knows it. You see the number 29. I believe that is Ian Haycock. He's got on his roof. Noah Lumbo, we can report, has gone into the pit. While we're looking at this, Conor McDermott's towed in the GTOs, in the GTPs. But it was just, it looked to me, and you're the expert here when it comes to the GTOs, that looked like a misshift to me.
Yeah, it did look like a misshift. It's really easy to do, especially if you go over a bump in the car. It can be really challenging, but you can see a lot of drivers just having to come into the pits. Now we've got Josh Brain, who does not have much damage, tucked up on Carlos Fonseca. Josh is going to go for the move here. Carlos has a little bit of damage. This is going to tell the tale. Andres Valenteus is more or less free and clear right now in the GTOs, 1.8 seconds, and we know how good he is at maintaining that gap. Up in the GTPs, though, it's a tight battle for the lead. Jacob Reed has an opportunity to take a win off of Valenteus this season and maximize his points, but he has had a really rough run with the first couple of rounds, but he's only 7/10 behind Nick McComas for the lead of the race.
Keep our eyes on that. Let's look at another GSRC replay. This is Gabby Martinez. We saw it in practice and qualifying. You hit those curbs, you're not Tony Hawk. You cannot do a nose blunt on them. You cannot do a 50-50. You lose control, and that unfortunately is what happened to Gabby Martinez out there as he's gone around. These cars are trying to avoid that. Nick McCanos goes purple right away. This is a battle that I don't think some of these drivers would expect themselves to have. Josh Brain just ahead, Carlos Fonseca battling Ian Bertolucci. Just to give you an idea how much that changed it. Martin Krajcik up 8. Mark Gamick, Damian Rodriguez up 10. Josh Brain up 7. Carlos Fonseca up 9. That just goes to show how much carnage that one mistake has caused.
Absolutely. It's a heartbreaking scenario, and it's really challenging for the drivers who are fairly quick, who got stuck in behind that incident. Even if they didn't get damage, they lose 10 plus seconds over the course of that the beginning of this race, which they then have to make up. I remember racing back when next week's track, Long Beach, was a tech track here on iRacing, back when we had those. I ended up falling behind an accident that blocked the road and had to wait for 30 seconds. I got back up to second position in that race, but I lost the opportunity for the win because I got stuck behind an incident. Didn't collect any damage, but it still affected the outcome.
Well, let's just talk about what this has caused, though, with this incident, because it's thrown off the cycle of multi-class traffic. These GTPs have gone through some of the traffic already. It's Noah Lumbo, the first car out after getting the damage. And I do see there is some damage to the back of a Lesniak's car. Just up ahead there, you just saw it. It looks to me like he's got a little bit of damage. And that has happened on this lap. And I wouldn't be surprised it was when he was getting past the GTO of Noah Lumbo. There is a very small amount of damage, but it's not affected him yet to Brendan Lim.
Bjorn Van Hicks is still tucked in behind Topi Kortaniemi. They've both fallen back of the GTO leader of Valenteus. Carlos Fonseca just making it past Ian Bertolucci, who has a lot of damage. And there is Ian. Looks like a blown engine to me. Either that or he's misshifted enough that he can't get the thing into gear. But very slow going over the top of the hill. And as he's about to be past a blind crest, that's going to be a dangerous position for him. Here is our leader in the GTOs. Andres Valenteus out to a 2.5 second lead over the battling Kortaniemi and Van Hicks, as it's side-by-side between Brendan Lim and Christoph Lesniak for 4th position. And yeah, that 4th position in the GTPs, a tight battle between Lesniak, Lim, Ryan Ware, and Fabian Jungbluth.
Yeah, Lim gets by just there as they hitched into the cutting. That he'll take that away. I think Lesniak realized the situation. Let's not try and be a little bit of battling up here. They try to want to catch up to Dustin Haroda up in 3rd position. Now, we've not talked a lot about for a while, but look at this here. It's Lim, Lesniak, Ware, Youngblood, and Schwibig all together here. And Laus is trying to catch onto the back. There he is, just in the last moment as they come on by. What a race that would be for Laus Olsen, but just look at them. They've still got a couple laps until they hit that traffic, but they've been through one car on its own. They've already seen the carnage, because look how bunched up they are just after one back marker. Oh, go on the 007 cam.
Little slide from Fabian Jungbluth coming down through the cutting, and that's unfortunately going to lead to Hennes Schweibig being right alongside him. You can see them in the background there, and that is Schweibig trying to catch the draft. I think Schweibig has very high wings, which is allowing Jungbluth to streak away, but just up ahead of them, that was Ryan Ware getting past Krzysztof Lesniak for position. And here comes Schweibig up the inside. He's going to be able to get that done on Jungbluth. He doesn't fight it too much. As Krzysztof Lesniak trying to take a look on Ryan Ware, he's going to stay in line.
Now, if I'm a Lesniak and I'm starting to bleed some time here with this damage, yeah, I'm looking at when that window opens, and wow, he's still got another 10 minutes before that window opens, unless he wants a two-stop. But two-stopping at Mount Panorama is so tough with how treacherous that entry is. So he's going to have to hold on to this for a bit. He's going to have to accept that he'll need to use the slipstream. He is actually struggling to keep with Ryan Ware on the slipstream that's behind him. You see Youngblood having to try and go around the outside of Schwibig through Quarry Bend. Oh! A small tap. I don't think he's got any damage on that, Adam. He's made that out alive, but just with the way that corner cambers, it's oh so tough to make that move.
And that brings Laus Olsen into the picture to try and put some pressure onto Jungbluth. Jungbluth looking like the back end, not complying with him right now. He's got some good cornering when he gets up here at the top of the hill, but during the slower corners at the bottom of the hill, it's really causing issues for him. Laus Olsen, though, looking fairly consistent right now. Looks like he's got a little bit of a tight vehicle, a little bit snap loose on him at the top of the hill. That could come afoul of him later on in the race, but he's probably betting that he's going to have some rear wear that's going to loosen up the vehicle. There is Nick Bakanos, our leader in the GTPs, and he's catching up to some of the slower and repaired GTO traffic.
You've got Bertolucci, who isn't a damaged car, and you've got Roman Bello, who's just coming back out, and he gets through, does Mechanos, and Jacob Reed has to wait a little bit, and that's going to hold him up. In fact, he loses almost a second because of that, as we see another car going into the pit. In fact, that's Timothy Reed. I don't know if that damage that he's had before. Yeah, that's the damage he's been trying to carry all this time. Such a shame for him. I know a lot of the drivers are a little bit frustrated, but the lap one things, it happens. Such a mistake like that, we saw it at Monza a couple seasons ago. It's the concertina effect. And you see Doug Cloud finally coming out. Some of these guys are 3 laps down. They're just fighting to try and get the points now. As you see, that is an endangered species. I'm talking about the car, not the shirt.
Yes, absolutely. Doug Cloud, the GTO is absolutely having such a big incident at the beginning of this race. 10 cars so far have taken to pit lane already, and we're not even 10 minutes into this race. The GTOs are Alex Moss, Timothy Reed, Noah Lundberg, Matthias Hopdahl, Guy Kaminen, Romain Bello, and Doug Cloud, as well as Ian Haycox and Billy Rolla, who wrecked out early. Ian Haycox almost went into the pits during that wreck. You can see Doug still trying to just hang on to this car through the traffic. And then our GTPs who have been in the pit lane are Connor McDermott, Gabriel Martinez, and Carlos Peralta. Oh no, Schweibig goes around.
Schweibig goes around, and I wonder if that was just the case, that it was an overtake not to happen. He just carried too much speed. He didn't realize Lesniak was checking up there. Lesniak had to check up because Ryan Ware was checking up. Did not realize it. He's lucky. He's very lucky he didn't cause much more damage. He did tap the rear, but he actually did collect Roman Bello. Roman's still going. I don't know how he is with keeping this battle with Johan Van Hicks. He is still fighting as well. This is the main battle in the GTOs after everything. These 3 are now 19 seconds ahead of the field that got caught up in that early accident.
10 minutes into this race, and a third of the field has already had attrition happen to it as Krzysztof Lesniak and Fabian Jungbluth get together at the bottom of the hill. There is Lesniak going through the gravel, just going under the Armor All Bridge. Lesniak got too close to Jungbluth and hit his rear wing. Honestly, Craig, we're going to end up with this race with half the drivers left just within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's so tough out there. Let's look at this replay. This is Schweibig. I don't think he's realizing the cars are lifting a little bit as they go over to McPhillamy. And it's just a thought. He tried to carry the speed, not the right thing to do. If Roman Bello was just a passenger, thankfully, not a lot of damage. I know Roman was in the chat right away, having his 2 cents out there, but unfortunately, he is still out there, just not where he wants to be. This is Alan Berteau. He's fighting against Laus Olsen. He's got Fabian Youngblood still behind him. Lesniak, as we saw, went into the pits, Adam. So we're looking at it right now. That's 4 GTPs in the pits. I've lost count how many GTOs have been in the pits. As we see the replay, this is the Lesniak. This to me just looked like it was just 2 cars getting a little bit too hot on the throttle when they come out the chase.
Absolutely, yeah. So Fabian got a little bit loose and came back into a Lesniak. Lesniak kept his foot in it because he didn't want to lose traction to Youngblood. Ends up getting into his rear wing. That hitbox just a little bit bigger than the actual rear wing and pushing him wide. Here we see Berteau right now, tucked in behind Carlos Fonseca. Lost a lot of ground to Laus Olsen following Fonseca down the latter half of the hill.
Yeah, but he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay, I feel, because Laus is managed to pull ahead, but Youngblood and Aitor are not going to be racing this. I mean, Aitor will be racing this. He won't be looking for any fuel saving, but he's just too far away to get on the brakes late, being one of the last of the late breakers. It's interesting to see Aitor. He's not really vibing with this track today. It's interesting. I wonder why that is, because I know some of these drivers, they like to trim out some of the wing to try and keep fast on these straights to make the overtake. But you take too much wing out, where are you going to get the downforce when it comes to up on the mountain? They have to be careful with what moves they decide.
And it's so bumpy at the top of the mountain that if you don't have a lot of downforce on this GTP, you can lose the rest of the downforce that you do have just going over those bumps. This giant wing machine actually has a decent amount of under aero performance that helps stick it to the ground. And the bumps of this road course, which it is a road course. You can drive to the top of the mountain in your normal vehicle. It really does affect these drivers when it comes to the aerodynamics. And so if you take out too much wing, you end up with this issue. Here's Dustin Herroder in 3rd position. He's a 2.5 behind Jacob Reed, who's falling back of Nick Vakanos over the course of this race. And Dustin Herroder absolutely within striking distance as Jacob has gotten stuck up behind a GTO down the hill.
Not where he wants to be, right behind Torpi Kortenemi, who got overtaken by Johan van Hick somewhere on the hill. I don't know if that was before they got there, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'll have a look at that. In fact, with that Kortenemi made a mistake this lap going down Skyline, had to take a slowdown. So this is now the opportunity for Herroder. He wants to try and catch it, but he just is too far away from Jacob Reed. So this is going to be 2 interesting battles because we're looking at 2 and 3 in both classes, still tucked together. And that could be the tail of the tape. And if I'm Herroder, I'm fuel saving to try and see if I can go an extra lap. If I'm Kortenemi now, I'm thinking, I made a mistake. I've lost P2. I'm still keeping Van Hicks. I'm still going to be able to fuel save.
Exactly. That is my thought. If I'm Herroder, Jacob Reed's a fast driver. Stay attached to his rear wing, save some fuel, possibly going a lap longer than Makanos and Reed up ahead. Reed's not losing too much time to Makanos, so that overcut could play a factor here for Herroder. Tires aren't going to be a huge factor as far as pace around this particular track. It really, especially in this, wow, there goes the front bumper of one of our drivers as it goes by. I believe that is Carlos Peralta, or no, that's Andres Valenteus. That doesn't make sense. But one of their front bumpers going away. They are going past Valenteus, our leader in the GTOs. As you can see, Herroder navigating the tight confines of the top of the mountain with our leader in the GTOs.
Yeah, I want to address something. We talked about those hot splits earlier. I love looking at the hot splits. Gives you a nice indication of what happens as Herroder goes on by. Valenteus was a 9K driver. Was. Not that he cares, not that he minds. Unfortunately, in this same scenario earlier in the week, he had a driver who just made the wrong move going up the hill to get by him, and it absolutely took out Valenteus. So was the key word. He won't get it back today. However, you know that he'll keep fighting for it, like Laus Olsen is, like Ryan Ware is against Brendan Lim. Very tight here. That's an important corner. Get the exit right, and it's so tough to get the exit right at the Forest Elbow. You can see that Ryan's not done it very well, because if you get that right, and he had to hit the brake, Brendan just had to hit the brakes. We're watching Peralta in the replay. That was a miscommunication there from the GTO.
Peralta, by the way, that damage that got caused to Peralta's vehicle and that major impact to the outside wall, that leads him to have a meatball flag, so he's going to have to take it back to the pits within the next 3 laps. Here is our leader in the GTOs, Audrey Valenteus, crossing the line, 43.5 minutes to go, and he's starting off on lap 9 for him, rather, in the GTOs. And he's got 7 seconds to Joram van Hicks behind, who's still got Topi Korteniemi very close behind, now separated by Laust Olsen on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, and I think Laus getting on that exit then might have cost Topi the slipstream. Still in it with Van Hicks. We know how powerful it is in these cheese blocks, these refrigerators. He's used every superlative we've got. But he is just going to keep getting that split right now because the toes come by him. There's Aitor. Fabian's behind them. Got to be careful where he lets them through. And you can just see, this is not an overtaking corner. Fabian's had to just wait. There is a chance to make a move here. If we go back to Alex Mass, it's a chance to make a move at the top of the hill. Going up the hill, it is oh so tight. So I think Fabian is going to hold off. Aitor's held off. This is another battle we haven't looked at. Alex Mass is a lap down. Well, isn't a lap down. He had to take the start from the pit lane. Not doing bad, avoiding that incident to start the race, I feel.
Yeah, starting the pit lane means that he did not have the opportunity to be involved in that incident, and he's probably thinking to himself, this is probably why we do this. Every once in a while, when you're not feeling confident about racing close and tight with a large pack of cars, sometimes the best option is to start from the pits and see what happens. And Alex Mas up 9 positions from starting off in 18th in the pit lane up to 9th position, and now battling with Damian Rodriguez and Carlos Fonseca for 7th.
Yeah, he's having a nice little battle, and this is one of the things about Camel. Just because you're not at the front, just because you're 30 seconds off the leaders, it does not matter. If you're still having battles, you're still having fun out there. And you see that they're just sticking together. Real smart driving by all 3 drivers here. Not looking to go and be aggressive here. Don't look for the moves. This reminds me of just what you would see in a GT race around here, just where the drivers just wait their time. But again, Forest Elbow, get on the throttle. Is it easy to get on the throttle at the right time there? No. And that's what makes it so tough if you want to make a move. 3 cars in a line. I don't think Alex is going to get a chance to overtake Fonseca here. But never say never as he pulls ahead. And in fact, that's smart from Fonseca. He realizes, no, that's not smart though. Alex just goes 2 for 2.
Oh, he absolutely sent it. And Damian Rodriguez loses 2 positions as well as he falls behind Fonseca. He didn't believe that Alex Mas was going to send it there through. Oh my goodness, what a crazy move. But Mas lives to tell another day and is now up to 7th position, and he's going to try and start to gap Fonseca.
Yeah, I think, what if he can gap Fonseca? He was about half a second faster last time back, and in fact, he's lapping really well. He's 9 seconds behind Josh Brain. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets up there later in the race. The pit stops will be vital because one thing that the community wanted to try and eliminate is these 60-minute races where it's a no-stopper. That's why last season we had a 70-minute race, Adam. This season, they're trying to go for tracks that force you to take the pit stop. And when you're basically full throttle for half the lap like you are here at Bathurst, it kind of makes sense to make that a 60-minute race just because it is forcing you to use every bit of fuel. I'm not saying a driver would try to no-stop because I'm looking at you, Valenteus. I know you've been crazy enough to do it a few times. I just don't think it is viable to try and do a no-stopper around today.
It's viable, but that would mean that you would have to be tucked in right behind the leader and have more pace than them. And with Valenteus in the lead and Nick McConnell setting fastest lap after fastest lap, I don't believe that the opportunity to win the race is there for a driver who's going to try and save enough fuel to no stop here at Bathurst. There we see Brendan Lim down in 4th position. He's got Ryan Ware still for company. Ryan has been trying to catch up to Brendan for a little bit now, but just been catching afoul of the traffic at the top of the hill. Speaking of the traffic, the cars are fairly spread out across the lap right now. We have a gigantic mob of cars on the start-finish straight right now. But otherwise, the cars are fairly evenly spread out across the entire lap, which is bad news for the GTPs.
It's bad news, but at the same time, there's still those pockets that are bunched up together. We're talking about that midfield battle in the GTOs that are still packed up together. And there's a little bit of a gap between 2nd and 3rd, but it's still there. So the likes of Brendan Lim here, yes, he's catching Ryan Ware, catching Brendan Lim. There's Ryan. there's still chances. Remember, we've only just had 22 minutes of a 60-minute race. These guys still have to get around. This almost turns into, well, it is an endurance round, but this turns into an endurance like it is, again, the Bathurst 12 hours around here, Adam. Getting around is fine. You've got to keep it clear. I did see some sparks flying from Ryan Ware, touching the wall on the exit to Forest Elbow. You can do that so many times. Do it too many times, and you may be getting a flag from Barney to tell you to come to this.
Absolutely. So, still looking at Ryan Ware trying to catch up to Brendan Lim. Nick Mecanos at 3.5 seconds over Jacob Reed. And Audrey Valenteus still about 6.5 seconds up to Jorn Van Hicks. So the bleeding has stopped for Van Hicks. He's settled in at this stage, but is still running slower laps than Valenteus as Damian Rodriguez is able to make it past Carlos Fonseca. And here's Gabri Martinez, who was side by side with another of the GTPs. Gabri is just out of the pits, quite a few laps down, making it past Matthew Cockerman. Laus Stolzen's gone around.
Laus Stolzen's gone around at turn 1. Very weird move there. I think he just tried to go a little bit too much there. Gets on by Aitor, gets past him. He goes down 2 positions. Yeah, it just looked like to me he was trying to carry too much speed. In the GT cars, you can hit that curb at Hell Corner. You can't do that in these GTPs. So let's just look at this. I think he's carrying too much speed. Tries to get on the throttle. Round it goes. And he's lucky not to hit anything. But it just goes to show, trying to carry too much speed there. I wonder if he gets a black flag for the pit entry. He doesn't. Thankfully, that would have just made it worse.
I think the issue was that he actually dipped his left rear tire into that little well that's at the center of that corner, right at the apex. And if you throttle up at the GTP when you're at that spot, you can absolutely spin the rear tires, and just that little bit of elevation change lifted the left rear tire off the ground enough to spin it. So it sent him towards the inside. So we're taking a look once again. Ryan Ware right on the back of Brendan Lim now. He's going to have a couple opportunities to make this pass before he gets up to the top of the mountain. But he's going to have to get a good exit off of turn 1 to make it happen.
Yeah, he gets a really good exit on the chase there. Not sure he's going to be looking down into Murray's Corner. Unless it's the last lap, you won't really see many people go for a dive into Murray's Corner. Even with the multi-class traffic here, you don't see that in that case. So look at the lap times. 50 flat, sorry for Ryan Ware. 50.6 for Brendan Lim. Really get it going, but I just saw him mount that curve, the exit curve. He's lost a tenth just on that itself. I know that doesn't sound a lot, but you look at it, he cannot catch up to Brendan Lim. He's just made that tenth back with the slipstream, and then another tenth. It is oh so treacherous, that corner. We've seen one man go inside too much and lose it. We just saw a man go too wide, and look what it cost him.
Cost him the opportunity for a pass, and now he's stuck behind Brendan Lim for yet another lap. We know that Ryan Ware is quicker. We saw it last lap, so it's entirely possible that he has the opportunity to make a pass going into the cutting, but this time around, it's going to be a challenge to try and get that much ground at the top of this hill, unless he can do the bottom portion of the hill better. Here is Carlos Fonseca, still tucked in behind Damian Rodriguez. Alex Moss is now 6 seconds up the road. That pass that we watched just a couple laps ago, that man's 6 seconds up the road now, trying to catch up to Josh Brain. Josh, though, has been putting in some rapid laps, so Alex Moss is still 8.5 seconds behind Josh Brain. But look at Carlos with a good run. He's going to make the move here on Damian, try and take the inside away.
Yeah, I wonder if Damien goes for a bit of a lift here. No, I think he's going to fight this. Now, gets a little kink before the chase. Decides against it, hold back. They bring in Bertolucci right behind them. So they are all battling here as we go back to Ryan Ware. He is finally getting that move done down into the chase. That's what we were waiting for. Got the good run out of the Forest Elbow. Straight into it. He's got that P4 away from Brendan Lim. Brendan now going -1 for the day. Top 3 haven't changed positions. Ryan, I wonder if he can now start to pull away. I'm not saying he's going to catch the 17 seconds that the rest of the field has in front of him. I do wonder, maybe as we see get past these 3 at the moment, and a small moment there from Bertolucci.
Yeah, a little unnecessary there. Just a little bit of a drift into Damian Rodriguez. And fortunately, Damian's car was able to keep going straight. Fabian into the pits. Fabian has some pretty significant left side damage that's been affecting him aerodynamically. And I think this is when he thinks that it's the earliest opportunity to come in and take that pit stop and still have a decent pace for the rest of the race. Taking a look right now with Ryan Ware, with Brendan Lim having gotten re-passed Ryan Ware at some point before we got up to the top of the hill, and now they've caught up to this three-way battle that we've been watching for 7th position, the GTOs, as Bertolucci goes into the outside wall trying to stay out of the way of the GTPs.
Yeah, Bertolucci goes into the wall. They come over to McPhillamy. Hard on the brakes does Brendan Lim. He's had to come to a complete stop. And again, hard on the brakes for Ryan Ware. Nowhere to go. It's so tough there. Technically, the line should be taking the left and then going to the right. In a normal GT car, Adam's going to slap me over the wrist if I've got that wrong for the GTOs. I think Fonseca was out of place there, probably trying to keep safe where he was. In fairness, he held his line, and again, he tried to go back to the racing line, and this is just a little bit of miscommunication, I feel. Technically, if you're that GTO, you're the slower class, you should be going back to the racing line, but just after a corner, Adam, you kind of have to just stay put for a while those faster cars come by.
Well, I think Carlos was just not confident that Brendan was going to drive effectively around him, so he starts to try and solve the problem himself, and that can lead to miscommunication. It's way better if you're the faster car to just make a confident move, even if it's the wrong move, even if it ends up being the wrong move. Just making a confident move. If you start to train other drivers that you are a confident driver and you're just going to stick it in, the other drivers will respect that, the slower class. Now, sometimes they're going to stick their nose out and make sure that you stay behind, because if you get that reputation, they're going to communicate fairly clearly to you, hey, I'm not letting you past yet, you can't go by. So it is a give and take, as we see Brendan Lim, very assertive. That's the kind of move that we're looking for. He loses a little bit of time, but he made it really clear to Alex Moss that he was going to dive right by. And Alex Moss didn't have to change anything, and Brendan Lim didn't lose that much time.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago, Alex Ott in a race in this series, he did some really good moves at Watkins Glen, and he still has it clipped at him, and every now and then he likes to bring it out, and he's going to watch this back and he's going to ping me later and show that clip. It's me saying that he's done some really good multi-class ethnics there, because he is the type of driver that he will do that confidence. That's why we love watching Valenteus. We go through the traffic when he's in the GTP, because he just gets in. Once he puts his nose there, you know he's doing it. You understand that that's what he wants to do. And it's just really nice to see. And I know there's some other content creators online who have done the big line where it goes around. He keeps it out of the wall. He's going to be in a battle for 6th and 7th now. That was just too hot on the throttle. In fact, he's going to lose these positions. Oh, he's going to have to get all the way back up and get past more GTO cars.
And here's Heitor Santos Galindo taking that opportunity of Alan Berteau lifting for a split second to take 7th position away from Berteau. Let's see whether or not Berteau fights back on the brakes. The answer is no. Berteau thinks better of it, and Santos Galindo is going to move himself up into 7th position, but they've still got Laust Olsen tucked very closely in there behind them. I can report that Carlos Fonseca has fallen back towards Ian Bertolucci as well, and there is Fabian Jungbluth going around again. This is after his pit stop for Fabian Jungbluth, so a tough spot to be parked as well on the track, but he's going to be able to get going once again. But that's just insult to injury at this stage of Fabian's race.
Now, he's pitted early. Now, I'm just wondering, yeah, if you pit early in a race like this, you don't usually take the tires. If you pit normal time in a race like this, tires are basically free. But if he spun, that says to me that he did indeed go and take new tires. And Ryan Ware, here's that just spin around. Did he actually hit the wall?
No.
A little bit of a kiss, as they say. But yeah, those cold tires, that can really affect you. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. This is going to get very messy up the top of the hill. Berteau trying to keep out of it. Remember, he hit the wall last time. Not Berteau, sorry. Other drivers, Bertolucci hit the wall. But yeah, he's trying to catch up to Heitor Santos Galindo. Cameron gets in the way.
Absolutely. Laust Olsen tucked in behind Berteau right now. It's Cameron just racing his racing line. Berteau had to wait. That puts Berteau rather into the clutches of Cameron. But Berteau very good heading down the hill here as they're going to come into Forest Elbow, and you can see Berteau gapping Laust Olsen by about a half second just on the downhill alone. So good pace from Berteau in that number 16 machine up ahead of Laust Olsen, especially at the bottom of the hill. But as you can see, part of where it comes from is the wing. He's got more wing in that machine, and that's allowed Laust Olsen to close right back up by the time we hit the cutting.
Yeah, it's going to get some more time as well, because there is Bertot trying to get past Laust, trying to get past Trey. Can't get it done. He's going to be right on the back now, and Laust has a really good run. If I'm Aitor, I'm looking behind me and thinking they're fighting. But if it was teammates, I'd be there going, let's give it a slipstream. Let's see what we can do. Doesn't need to do it right now. This could be interesting. A good launch, though, from Bertot, using that downforce advantage. That's not going to help Laust. Very interesting to see this different battle styles here because of that wing. It means Laust is kind of like me when I'm on this hill. Really love going up the hill, but coming down that hill, I'm on that brake non-stop, Adam.
Interestingly enough, when taking a look at the times of Nick McConos and Jacob Reed, and Jacob Reed's last lap was a 46.7 to Nick McConos' 46.9. And Jacob Reed's back underneath 3 seconds to Nick McConos. So the race is not over for the lead of the GTPs. It may not look as tight as this battle we're watching on screen between Galindo, Bertot, and Olsen, but the fight is definitely on, especially considering the fact that none of our leaders have taken pit stops yet.
And one car gets through, it was Aitor. Aitor with a little bit more experience around here compared to Bertot, allows him to get on by fast. And now Laust is thinking, I really need to get by, because Bertot isn't confident up the hill compared to the veterans of Aitor and Laust. Because remember, I've been talking about it, Adam. Do try to keep my eyes on that number. There is a little bit of a battle in this season, and it's not for points. It's for races, as we see Malte coming out of the pits. Yeah, Laust has second overall in starts in the series. Aitor is close to overtaking him on that. I'm not saying it's a proper competition, but you got to feel there's a little bit of friendly competition, and hence, I'm not saying it is, but I like to just stir the pot. Maybe that's why Laust has decided to come and do a few more races. Maybe he wants that number 2 spot.
Speaking of that, it looks like Laust is in the pits. Bertot is in the pits. Alan Bertot has decided to come to the pit. And Topi Kortaniemi, as we were watching on screen there, is very tightly behind Jordan Van Hicks, not leaving him to go anywhere. And I can also report that I just had the biggest fist bump moments when it comes to being a sports analyst. Immediately after I said Jacob Reed was catching him, Nick McConos, he sets the fastest.
Yeah, and look at the time now. It's under 2 seconds. And we've just hit the halfway stage, and we're under the halfway stage now. So that's going to be a really interesting race, battle to look at the race later on. Because that gap, again, a second taken out from Reed, could be interesting. Like this battle, a second was taken out from Kortaniemi last time by, as Van Hicks continues to just struggle. Kortaniemi really using this slipstream. Again, if I'm Kortaniemi right now, Adam, I go back to what I said 15 minutes ago. I wouldn't be looking to be the aggressor down the straight. I'd look to try and fuel save, just be a little bit of economy. When you've got Brendan Lim right behind you, you're not going to be able to use that slipstream to your advantage, because he's going to give Van Hicks a nice little tow coming down the hill.
Yeah, but even if you fuel save as Kortaniemi, there's no way you're beating Valenteus. The only person you're beating with the fuel saving is going to be Van Hicks. Now, that's something that you can decide to do, or you can decide to pass him on track. Kortaniemi takes the latter, but he's going up against the current points champion, and Van Hicks is actually going to think better of it, and he's going to do a little bit of fuel saving now behind Kortaniemi. And so just a little bit of give and take right now, as we're under halfway to go, 25 minutes to go in this 60-minute race.
I'm really curious what the lap time will be then for Kortaniemi. Oh, it's a 2:01.9. He actually was faster than Valenteus. He's got to find 10 more seconds, unfortunately, so I'm not sure that's going to happen yet, but never say never. Drivers are up that hill, and we're getting to that stage where we've almost done a full race distance. So it's where I like to start to say, Adam, as we see Swebeg into the pit, the fatigue starts to hit.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is when the fatigue starts to hit, and I think that might be a little bit of what's happening with McCanos here. Maybe just a little bit of fatigue as he starts to battle Jacob Reed. Thankfully, Matthew Cockerham gets out the way. He's going to give a nice little tow to Jacob Reed.
We did get stuck behind Cockerham over the top of the hill, and that's what has brought the gap down to 1.2 seconds. Cockerham has no obligation to get out of the way of these drivers. Blue flags in iRacing are purely informational, but he chooses to get out of the way of Jacob Reed and not hold him up too much. That whole exchange has significantly helped out Jacob Reed, and Nick Makanos being stuck behind Damian Rodriguez coming into the left-hander before the start-finish straight has also benefited Reed, because Reed should get a clean shot off of turn 1, and this is going to bring him right up into behind Makanos.
Yeah, and Rodriguez did that thing where he held onto that racing line, and Reed expected him to go back on, and he had to do a little bit of an aversion there, and I think he had to just lift off the throttle for a little bit, getting loud on that turbocharged pedal, just losing time. But again, more traffic. Makanos getting held up from Carlos Fonseca, and going to be held up now from Bertolucci. And a very late send in there for Jacob Reed. He's right on the back of Makanos. Oh, this is very tight to try and make this up this part. Oh, you can see Jacob's had to hesitate. Going up to Griffins and Reed. Jacob Reed, literally the same spelling, has just had a little bit of hesitation.
Lost Olsen now into the pits, as Jacob Reed had to hesitate there. Interestingly enough, once a GTO makes contact with the outside wall or makes a slip up, you can know they're immediately going to be looking to get out of the way of the driver behind. So Jacob could have probably tried to stick it up the inside, but didn't take that opportunity. Look at this though, 3 wide almost as we go on the back straightaway. These 3 drivers, Berteau, Ware, and Schweibig, battling after they've all taken their pit stops.
Yeah, Schweibig just goes to that late move. Ware had to back out of it. He kind of did a pick move on himself there, and he had to lose it to Berteau, and Schweibig go on by. Ryan Ware is now looking behind, and is this going to be a send here from Schweibig to try and make it into hell corner? Can't make it stick on the inside. The inside car there is Schweibig. It is Berteau, the outside car. And it's going to be very interesting as they come by. A little bit of a tap. They're still bumping. And Berteau doesn't know where Schweibig is. He's almost going to pit maneuver him if he's not too careful. Side by side, they go up the mountain straight. Ware is going to look for this. He's not going to try and send this 3 wide. He's going to be wide. He's going to wait. Berteau finally holds on to it. Schweibig goes wide off the camber. That allows Ware to get that position back.
Oh,
a little bit dicey there.
Fonseca is backwards on the start-finish straight. He's trying to get it turned around. He's worried about Noah Lundberg. I think he stalled the engine. He finally gets going. There is Lundberg, who's going to slide it through and going to be able to make it pass without any issue. But Fonseca, who was battling up ahead of Josh Brain, has now lost 3 positions and back down to 11th. And is going to have to try and catch back up again. But he made a lot of damage to the rear end of the car with that incident as we continue to watch this chaotic battle in the GTPs.
Yeah, this is the battle we thought we did. This is the sort of battling we thought we'd see with the traffic. Unfortunately, it did not happen. We look at Carlos Fonseca again. That's a car getting out the way for Laus, and Laus has lost time there. What did we say at the start of the broadcast, Adam? Hold your line, be predictable. We didn't say be predictable, but hold your line, and that's not helped Laus. He's lost 2 seconds, and he's already struggling going down that hill, and he's lost more time. So now let's see what happens here. They're going to go side by side once again. Berteau is able to be ahead this time. It will be very late braking to see if they can make it. They cannot.
We need to go to the lead of the race. I'm sorry. Our leaders, Nick Makanos and Jacob Reed, they're catching up to you and Kevin, and they're going to squeeze by as neither of them wanted to lift. This is the defining moment of the race. Nick Makanos doesn't want to give it up, and Jacob Reed is going to try it on the late brakes. Nick Makanos, though, good job getting to the apex first. A great move there from both of the drivers. Absolute balls of steel right now as they're trying to battle it out for the win.
Trying to battle it there. Jacob Reed's not going to try and go around the outside. He's not. He's trying to do the switch back here. It's not worked for him. He's going to have to wait. And this has happened for Makanos, having a little bit of trouble going up and down the hill with traffic yet again. And now he is on the defense. He hasn't been like this since we started the race. Picture in picture, you're looking at the battle for P2 in the GTO. Courtenay in the lead with Van Hick in behind him. But now the slipstream is not there for Jacob this time. He's going to have to wait. He gets a good run, but it's so tough to make a run through the cutting. He's going to have to wait once again for the chase, I feel. I'm looking ahead, though, Adam. Just a few cars to navigate up the hill.
Absolutely, Mark Gamick is going to be the first car they're going to have to navigate. It's through the worst part of the top of the hill. It's the tightest, most twisty section. And look at this, Nick Makanos getting held up. He has to wait, and they're going to take the inside away from Mark Gamick. Mark putting on the brakes to make sure he doesn't make any contact, but now Nick is free and clear. He should catch Ian Haycox by the time they get to the bottom of the hill. Brendan Lim is in the pits from 3rd position. For 4th position, rather. He's going to drop down a couple of spots and might even fall behind that other battle that we were watching earlier on. Joran Van Hicks still in 3rd position, tucked in behind Topi Kortsuniemi, as Nick Makanos Mechanos. A decent run down the hill, but makes contact with the outside wall. Shouldn't slow him down that much, but maybe that damage will come back to bite him. They're going to catch Ian Haycox on the straight here, and this might be an opportunity for Nick Mechanos to try and put a pick on Jacob Reed, but they're too fast. It's not going to happen, but it does prevent Nick Mechanos from getting passed by Jacob on this straight.
Now, I wonder if I'm Jacob right now, you see everyone is pitting, you might have a little bit of pace on him, but one of these cars is going to dive into the pit lane very shortly. This is going to be interesting. Let's see. No, they keep on battling, they keep on racing. Top 4 yet to pit. These guys have pitted, and they're now having a Barboda 3 wide on the exit of Hell Corner. Take it easy, boy. Swebe is the blue car, or the darker blue car. He's got the inside line. They're trying to tighten up. They're trying to squeeze. There is some GTOs up ahead. Laid on the brakes again for Swebe. Gets it done. Rateau outside doesn't work. That's going to allow Ryan Ware to retake that position. And around the outside for the cutting they go. Very good racing. The leaders, they come up to this area. They haven't changed any position yet, but they're going to catch these guys very shortly. Oh, it's going to be very chaotic.
It's a blast to watch these guys, but oh, Schweibig gets away. Ryan Ware and Berteau stuck behind Timothy Reed over the top of the mountain, and it's going to break it up between Berteau and Ware as well. But let's see what happens with Reed and Mechanos, because they're about to catch up to Carlos Fonseca, Matthias Hovdal, and Timothy Reed, all of whom are on the top of this mountain. And Fabian Newbooth looks like he's taken a toe, unfortunately, so he's going to be out of this race. Here are our leaders of the race, Nick Mechanos and Jacob Reed, coming down the mountain. And here we go. It's going to get spicy as they get onto the mountain straight.
Yeah, they'll get to Fonseca first of all. They should catch up to Hadval, so let's see what happens here. The first toe will belong to Mechanos. He gets it and gets away onto the nose, onto the hood, onto the bonnet camera. I'll get it right in a moment for Jacob Reed. I think he's too far away to look for a move this time, because once you get to the little kink here before the chase, you've got to commit, and he's going to commit. He was going to try the over-under. You know what? The traffic's actually going to work for him here, because Mechanos, he has to make a reactionary move right now. All these GTOs ahead have pitted, and that's smart from Nicholas.
Yes.
That is really smart to take the pit right there. Look at what happened to Jacob. He'd have to come really slow here for Murray's corner, because Hell's corner, Timothy Reed, he's going to be held up again.
Absolutely, a really smart move from Mechanos. He might be able to get the undercut just through those two moves alone, and he'll have fresh tires to do it with. But Jacob Reed, now released, he's going to be able to run away with it. We're taking a look at the battle between Noah Lundberg and and Josh Brain, rather, and this is for 8th position in the GTO. Yes, on the timing tower, you can see as well as we can Topi Kortanemi and Van Hicks still nose to tail, but Van Hicks has had a couple of opportunities to try and pass Topi and has not done it. So it's definitely a choice that he's making. Here is Lundberg making his way around the outside of Josh Brain. Josh was one of the drivers who made it through the opening wreck without incident, and Noah Lundberg still trying to recover. He was in the pits for quite a while, whereas Josh Brain was only in for a short amount of time.
Yeah, he was in the pit.
Oh, sorry. Second position in the GTOs. Jacob Reed, our leader, absolutely on a commit lap. He sent it up the inside of McPhillamy Park and almost sent Kortaniemi off the road.
Yeah, I cannot believe that. Swebek's gone around. Swebek, that has got to be around. He's trying to get that car going. No, toe. I mean, you're in a high-powered downforce car, but the rule of thumb around here, sometimes it's easier to just take the toe. That was some very, very hard in the hand moment, or biting on my knuckles. Very scary. Is Jacob Reed going to come and pit, though, Adam? I feel he has to make the reaction this time. I know they can go a little bit long with 15 minutes ago, but if you just see Mechanos go into the pit, okay, no. Ignore me.
No, not this lap. The two drivers up ahead of them are Last Olsen and Alan Berteau. They're very quick drivers. They're in 7th and 8th position. The next GTO is Audrius Valenteus, who you can work with. This is a lap to go one more and try and stretch it even further. Nick Mechanos still trying to get the tires underneath him and dealing with traffic. This is absolutely your time to shine.
Hirota's come into the pit. This is Mechanos. Mechanos has to just look at this traffic up ahead. He'll catch Gamek. I think he'll get it right before Murray's corner. Be very interesting as Hirota will come by. This will be the litmus test, as they say. Get a little bit of a break, maybe he'll just get a drink. Maybe he'll pull one of those trophies up to just see them. He's just biting his nail. Nope, nothing. He's not even taking a breather. There he goes. He goes for the breather. And that's what you kind of need, because even though the fielders have been a little bit reduced and split, it is oh so tough to navigate around here. You see, though, still got battled. Laus is still battling Brateau. Man, what a fight these four at the back have had.
3/4 of this race complete, 14 minutes to go for these drivers. Not a long time left for them. It'll be interesting to see. Jacob Reed's catching right up to the back of this battle. He's the leader in our GTPs. These two drivers 7th and 8th position, but Reed has yet to pit. These two drivers have pit, so it's not Reed's pace has not been that high. Now, Nick Makanos was in pit lane for 44.7 seconds. Jacob Reed is 42 seconds ahead of Nick Makanos, and it's a fairly slow pit exit for these drivers. So if Reed was saving enough fuel behind Nick Makanos, which he was trying to catch Makanos for good multiple times this lap, as he comes into the pits, we're about to find out whether or not he's done enough to try and take the lead from Makanos in the pit lane.
But what's interesting is that Makanos was 3rd slowest in the pits. To give you a little information, Hiroda was 40.9, fastest in the pits today. So that's just given him a little bit of an advantage. So it just depends on what fuel they've taken or what fuel they've stayed. Valenteus into the pits as well. Is there a moment between what's happening between Courtenemi and more drivers into the pit? Sorry, Courtenemi into the pit, Valenteus into the pit. Van Hicks is not. Remember, 12 minutes ago. I know he's been following for quite a while, Adam. He cannot go to the end on a no-stopper. I will be surprised if he does. Jacob Reed still not out of the pit. There he goes. There is Makanos. He's got it. Cool, calm.
He's got it.
Real good heads up there from you, Adam.
5-second delta between Reed and Makanos in the box. That is how much time and how much fuel Reed was able to save over that first stint, and it's made all the difference. 8 seconds on track. And that extra 3 seconds was gained, 1 second of that was gained in time on the lane. But look at this battle back together again. It's P6, Ryan Ware, Brateau, and Laus Olsen Lynn, 4 seconds up the road.
Yeah, and now it's going to be interesting. Can they now stick with this forever? I think Brateau may have not had the best of runs here, because here comes the veteran. Here comes Laus Olsen. He's got to look for a move. He's going to put his nose right there before the king. Real smart. But now he's even going to try and go double around the outside. Don't think that's going to be happening. And in fact, he almost loses it on Brateau. Round the outside up the chase. It's really smart, really good. He cannot open the steering wheel up, though. He's going to lose that position just as he got it, and for a split second, I thought he was going to round the outside of 2 drivers at the chase.
Absolutely beautiful move there for Brateau to hang on to that right there. Looks like Aitor Santos Galindo's in the pits, as well as Damian Rodriguez. Rodriguez, very slow pit entry, so he might lose a little bit of time there. But look at this. Still side by side they go, and through the traffic.
Yeah, through the traffic. Aitor actually almost hit Brateau as he came out the pit, and he's lost time on these two, but he is with them. And this is going to be interesting, because if you look, where is a second ahead? This is a 4-car dance all of a sudden. It's a 4-way. It's very fatal, I'll tell you that. Wouldn't want to be in the ring with these guys at the moment. It's going to be tight for the finish. Aitor has less fuel. He also has pressure tires. That could be vital. Track temp is still 29 Celsius, 85 Fahrenheit. We're in the winter now of Australia, and it just goes to show, compared to what it was like for the summer, this is very tight.
Absolutely, a very tight bash here at the top of the mountain, Mount Panorama here. The WrestleMania of IMSA Vintage happens after the end of the season, the Road America 500, and these drivers getting a little bit of a taste of what a long sprint race at a challenging track can be. Road America, not nearly the technical track that this one is, but still plenty of opportunities to do right. You can see Aitor Santos Galindo, you could probably hear it on the broadcast, hit the outside wall there of the cutting, and unfortunately for him, that's going to lose him a little bit of time to Laus Olsen. These 4 drivers have spread out.
They spread out for the moment. Look at the traffic. They're not going to hit they're not going to hit GTOs for a while. So it's going to be quite interesting just to see where they go. We keep Van Hicks in the picture-in-picture. Valenteus on the main picture. That's because Van Hicks is the de facto leader on the nature. He's the last GTO to pit. Gap between them, you can see on the timing tower, 17 seconds and some change. I don't think Van Hicks is going to fuel save. He would have to do a lot of fuel saving, but with 9 minutes to go, I feel he's he's committed to not winning the race now. I think he's trying to get that gap to Cortinemi, and I think it may not be enough.
See, right now the gap to Cortinemi, if I'm doing my math right, is going to be about 46 seconds. So I believe he has it at the moment. No, sorry, it's 36 seconds. There we go. I misplaced the 10. So he does not have it at the. It's right on the edge basically. So see, Jacob Reed set the fastest lap. Audrius Valenteus, and yeah, Van Hicks coming into the pits right now at 46 seconds. He should come out 1 second. Oh, he goes over the grass just a little bit on the entry. Does Van Hicks? Does that give him a black flag?
It gives him a 1x. It's not a black flag. It gives him a 1x. The only way you would get a unsafe pit entry is would almost be cutting it and then missing the bend and going back onto the start-finish line. So he's all right. Don't worry. He's all right. I'm keeping my eyes on the flags, and I haven't seen anything from Barney to say it, but there he goes.
So
Valenteus goes on by.
Craig, one thing is that Van Hicks, yeah, he's out of the box already. He saved a lot of fuel behind Cortinemi, so he has a shorter time in the box, but he's halfway down the pit lane. And here comes Cortinemi entering turn 1. Oh, it's going to be tight, but Van Hicks hips Cortinemi in the pits due to that fuel saving. That extra 2 seconds of fuel saved gives him a second and a half on track.
Yeah, he had to get up to speed, and he's got up to speed. Real smart there. Cortinemi will have to just allow Lesniak to come on by. Oh, Lesniak's 3 laps down after that incident. He had that little tap. But yeah, this is it now. So vital. Van Hicks now has to just keep on driving. In fact, he's kind of managed to take a little bit of time off Valenteus as well. That's one to keep your eyes out for. Brendan Lim, he's in no man's land at the moment, it's safe to say, in 4th place. He's 43 seconds behind Dustin Hiroda. The pace that the top 3 have been doing had been quite insane today. We talked about the pace that the top 3 in the GTOs has been doing. Granted, there was the big pileup at the start of the race, but this is kind of mental to see that Jacob Reed is a minute, not a second, a minute faster than Brendan Lim in P4.
Yeah, absolutely. A minute faster than Brendan Lim. Jacob Reed up there with a 1:45.9. I'm trying to look back and see what Nick Makanos did. A 1:45 flat for Nick Makanos for his qualifying time. So nearly tied with his qualifying time there. So we see Timothy Reed battling with Matthias Hovdahl. These are 2 drivers who were involved in that lap 1 incident. And as you can see, Hovdahl coming into the pits for a second time. His first time was immediately after the incident.
You know what? I reckon Timothy might be able to go to the end here. He took an early pit stop, yes. And granted, who's he's fighting? He's fighting Hadval and Fonseca. I think he's got enough fuel because what? There's 4 minutes to go. Sorry, he pitted lap 4. There's 6 minutes to go. Do the maths. If Van Hicks can basically fuel save until 5 to go, I'm pretty sure Timothy can do it as well.
Well, Matthias Hovdahl came in with 24 laps on this stint. Timothy Reed has 21 laps on this stint. If the race is 3 laps, maybe an extra, maybe 4 laps more than this, which it seems like that's about right, then it's entirely possible that Timothy Reed can go to the end on this tank.
Keep your eyes on that. That'd be very interesting. I'll tell you something that is very interesting. That timing tower does not lie in the GTOs, as Cortinemi almost came up to the back of Van Hicks. So we'll keep eyes on that. But that's basically it now for the battles on the track. The cars are kind of settled into where they should be, and it's just really just a case of what happens with any roadworks on the track. And by that I mean multi-class, because Lars Olsen has lost a second to Brito. He would kind of need some help to get that, as with Brito on Ryan Ware. So keep your eyes on the timing tower if you keep on watching Jacob Reed, who after that pit stop, he's already put out 13 seconds to Makanos. There is Nick. I don't know what happened to Nick, but unfortunately, you've got Jacob Reed. He's a man who on a mission. And again, I keep saying it, Adam, I'd love to see more Valenteus versus Reed.
Absolutely. If you're wondering why we're saying that, Valenteus is attempting something no one's ever done before, which is to win both classes in the championship points in a single season. Now, in the GTPs, it looks like that's possible given the fact that there's been some inconsistency amongst our top 5 finishers over the last couple of races. But in the GTOs, with Joram Van Hicks, our championship points leader, only 12 seconds, and I say only, 12 seconds behind Valenteus. On track, he's going to get second place points with 22 points, only to Valenteus' 25. Now, it's entirely possible that Valenteus could also do something no one's ever done before and win every race he participated in while participating in 2 classes and racing 6 races per class. That would still be an amazing stat to hang around your neck, but I believe that Joran van Hicks's consistency throughout this season and throughout last season is likely going to prevent him from taking the championship in the GTOs this year, even if he gets the GTP championship by only racing 6 races.
It would be interesting. He almost did that really last season, and he had the championship. Let's address the elephant in the room. A small hardware failure for Van Hicks with 5 minutes to go, costing the championship. It was the biggest heartache last season. You know that Van Hicks wants that, so he'll be happy just where he is. You look at the points he scored. He's sitting fine. Knock on wood, he's sitting fine. No Andreas Schuster this week. That's fine. No Mickey Friesen. That's fine. Billy Roller. Billy Roller's had a drop week because of what's happened, so he's fine. Courtenay, we keep looking really good driving Courtenay as he tried to catch up to Van Hicks. He has these times. He comes and races every now and then. It's great to see him. He's one of those older drivers that, I say older in terms of how long he's been driving in the series, not old in an age. He's one of those that just comes every now and then, and he still has that ability to just throw these cars around. And realistically, Bathurst, it's kind of like the Nordschleife. It brings everybody out, just because, as I said at the start, where are you going to find anywhere in the world that will go, yeah, let's have a car with massive downforce like this Nissan that's going right on by? Where are you going to find a track that will allow them to go on a night street track like this? Apart from Macau, nowhere.
You know, one driver I want to focus on is Mark Gamick. Mark Gamick is currently in 4th position right now, and this driver does not often make it into the top split, but he has an average finishing position of 10th position and is currently right now sitting in 4th spot and having made 11 spots since the start of the race. Alex Moss, who's behind him, has made 13 spots and he's in 5th position. These are 2 drivers who have been able to take advantage of the incidents that all of the rest of the field had and are going to be able to pull out top 5s today in a way that they haven't seen since they started racing in the top split of the Saturday series.
I want to give a heads up because well done Mark Gammett for making 8 or 9 places up in one corner, because that's what happened. He managed to find a gap that was very tight at the start of that race and was able to get on by. Kind of similar to what happened to Mass as well. We don't see him a lot. He goes on by. It's very interesting. Remember, Alex Mass, he took the pit lane and he's still there. Real heads up there for him. So just goes to show that sometimes you've got to be in it to win it. Aitor has towed. Aitor has retired the car. I think he's just had some more damage. In fact, yeah, he lost it on Quarry. On Quarry Bend, we'll probably see it in a minute. Here's leaders going on by. Jacob Reed, got a few more laps to go. He's only got 1 more lap to go.
Yeah, it's going to be tight to see whether or not he makes it. I believe it's going to be I believe this is the penultimate lap, but obviously iRacing can overrule that and throw the checkered flag when he gets down there. But Jacob Reed absolutely playing the strategy perfectly. He started off in the 2nd position and lost a lot of time to Nick McConos on the 2nd lap due to traffic and just decided to play the fuel game. He put some heavy pressure on Nick McConos, forcing him to make a couple of mistakes, and has absolutely just been patient and made a very nice pit stop, 16 seconds in the box. So it's going to be very, very it's just a very good job from him. Noah Lundberg, after having a horrible start to the race, has passed Ian Bertolucci as well for the 8th position. So Bertolucci falling back even further. He's still carrying damage from the beginning of this race. But here comes Jacob Reed coming through the final corner now. He's on the brakes, slowing down quite a bit, and it is going to be white. Oh, that's it. No. Okay, it does look like he's getting the white flag. Yes, the white flag is flying, so this is the final lap for him. And he's... I don't know if he's going full throttle. Maybe he didn't expect this either.
The problem is, he never saw the white flag. Leader never saw the white flag. So theoretically, by the rules, leader has to see the white flag before you can throw the checkered flag. And I think that's caught him out. So everyone has to go an extra lap now. So this could actually be very interesting to end this race. because some drivers may have gone for that fuel saving, and I'm seeing a battle for 4th place. This is Ryan Ware battling Brendan Lim. They probably also know it's not white flag. Now, they're a minute behind. I wonder if one of these drivers have to start doing some fuel saving, because all of a sudden, some drivers may have a little bit of a panic. Multi Schneider as well. He's had to come into the pit. He's had a moment just on the final lap. That's so unfortunate. Hardware failure. Ryan Ware is still battling. And in fact, hang on. I think Jacob Reed's out of fuel. Is that Mechanos right behind him?
Mechanos, 1.3 seconds. This was 13 seconds when he crossed the line. Has Jacob Reed saved enough fuel for this final spurt to the line? He's very slow. Nick Mechanos has an opportunity here. He's going to be kicking himself if he can't get it, but Jacob Reed running fine right now. Nick Mechanos running fine as well. What's going to happen as they go to the line?
Also, Lars Olsen in the background. He's getting past Alan Berteau because of the fuel as well. Can Jacob Reed hold on to this for the very last moment? The gap into second. Adam, this is going to be a sprint finish. He's held up by traffic.
He's held up by traffic. Nick Mechanos, he's going to have one of the most legendary scents if he's able to do this. He's a little bit too far back. Does Jacob have the fuel on the exit of the corner? The answer is yes. Jacob Reed hangs on to it by the skin of his teeth. By the fuel saving he did. He took a short stop because he didn't think he'd have to go the extra lap and managed to hang on to it just barely. Malte Schneider has parked it. He can't make it. Hennig Freiberg has finally parked it as well. Andres Valenteus is going up the hill again because Jacob Reed didn't pass him. Joram Van Hicks has finished the race, so he's finished in second position. The lap for Valenteus will be ceremonial, but he does have to make it back.
Yeah, let's look as well. Ryan Ware, he's had some...
Heroda's out.
Well, Heroda's out of fuel, but I think he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay as he will coast to the line. You can see him talking. I don't think the drivers thought about this. What a late drama. This is because of the number of cars on the track, Adam. The lack of cars. And we see Josh Brain. He's run out of fuel, so much so that he's having to take the grass. He may lose P6. This is Valenteia still going around. I'm keeping my eyes elsewhere. Lars Olsen, he had enough fuel. He's going to get on by. He gets past Toe, who is slow around here. Ware get P5, Lim get P4. That's Josh Brain, just comes across the line. That gap was 0.4 of a second though from Mechanos. Yeah, again, the leader has to see the white flag. Just because he's slowed down does not mean the checkered comes out unless there's something manic that happens. So I reckon Jacob timed that wrong.
I think he did. I don't think he realized that he could have probably tried to time it a little bit better second to last lap, but Valenteus tucked in now behind Damian Rodriguez. He's going to sneak by Damian. Damian just letting Valenteus go, and Valenteus running one more lap than anyone else. So much so that there's only 55 seconds left before the server shuts off. So Valenteus is going to do the ceremonial slider on the final corner and cross the line with 40 seconds to go before none of us would see him finish. Well, what a finish we just had.
Problem is, he couldn't even take it slow on the finish, because if he didn't go across, he would have been marked down a lap. And I don't know if he would have actually taken the lead and take the drag at the end. Just makes a little bit of mess there, Valenteus. But well done.
Yeah.
Also, race we saw at the end there.
I believe the rule is if you don't finish your final lap, you score as the last.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit.
So I don't believe he would have taken the win, but I would love to be corrected. I look forward to hearing your comments in the chat and in the IMSA Vintage Discord server. But let's take you to our final results. Jacob Reed takes the win here with Nick Mechanos coming home in a close second after crossing the final lap with 13 seconds of a lead. Reed had to save fuel, and Nick Mechanos comes home only half a second behind. Dustin Heroder was able to coast to the line in third position with Brendan Lim, Ryan Ware, and Lars Olsen, as well as Alan Berteau, all struggling a little bit on fuel, but they were able to finish on the lead lap. Hennig Freiberg is the first driver a lap down, and he's all alone with Malte Schneider alone on the second lap down. Aitor Santos Galindo, Matthew Cockrum, and Christoph Lesniak all finished 3 laps down. And then it's on to the drivers who had trouble today. Fabian Inglewood retired, as well as Gabri Martinez, Carlos Peralta, and Connor McDermott.
Well, GCO's going to look very weird once again, because Valenteus once again has to do a lap on his own. He does finish officially 1 lap behind ahead of Johan Van Hicks. managed to hold off Torpedo Cortinemi with that pit stop strategy, and then Mark Gamak goes up 11 places, avoids the wreck at the start of the race. He finishes in 4th. Alex Mass didn't even need to go through the wreck. He was in the pits. He's plus 13 for the day in 5th, with Josh Brain in 6th. Martin Krajcik will be 7th. Noel Lundberg, he carried a lot of damage at the start of that race. He recovers to 8th after that. Bertolucci will be 9th, and Damian Rodriguez will be 10th. And then, unfortunately, we get to those drivers a couple laps down, and also those who also got caught in incidents. Timothy Reed had to take an early pit stop, and he had to do damage. Did manage to keep on going, though. He finishes 11th. Carlos Fonseca had to take some repairs as well. He was 12th. Mateus Hadval, he finishes 13th. Johanny Cameron will be 14th, and then Roman Bello will be 15th. Ian Haycock was on his roof at the start of the race. He finishes in 16th, and then Doug Cloud retired early in 17th. Villirola, unfortunately, did not see that green flag after the mistake, coming out the corner on green flag into 18th position.
Absolutely. Lots of stuff going on this race. Craig, I saw that Jacob Reed said that he wishes the race was 20 seconds shorter. That was up to him. He had 13 seconds over Nick Mecanos. So when he came to the white flag, he could have backed off and given it the extra 5 seconds that was needed to let the white flag go. But we've had to decide that on the back straight. So just very interesting. Fascinating to see the fuel come into play, and also that gigantic incident in turn 1.
Yeah, I cannot believe that incident. Such a shame. I'm not entirely sure. I did see Ville was around talking. He owned up to the mistake. I don't know what happened. Some people saying he was in gear. Was it hardware failure? We just don't know. One thing that's going to be interesting, though, Adam, we talked about it earlier. We're going from a street track to another street track. We're going to another infamous street track or famous street track, because our championship leader in the GTO, Jan Van Hicks, last year went around the outside to win at Long Beach, and we go to Long Beach next week.
Yeah, Long Beach, it's a very interesting race. It's a tight confines. Another place that's hard on multi-class with lots of changing lines. It's going to be very interesting to see how the drivers handle Long Beach next week. We do want to thank, and we are going to close out the broadcast now, and we do want to thank IMSA Vintage for bringing us back this season, and a thank you to the team today. That's Craig, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we just said, it is Long Beach next week. That's April 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern. But next up on GSRC is the Skip Barber Race Series at Belle Isle, another amazing street track. That's tomorrow at 5 a.m. Eastern time. And don't miss the other upcoming races that you'll see on our channel as well. We hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. We hope to see you back again soon, but until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.